Hey everybody, summer 2020. Maybe a summer, well, certainly be a spring we won't forget. Hey, welcome to your History of Psychology course. I'm Steve Jordans. I'll be your professor for the course, and we'll be doing this, of course, fully online as we all kind of get through this crazy time of life together. Yeah. Well, the idea here is to give you a sense of the course and walk you through a few things. And so I'm just going to jump right into it. Of course, you want to first log into Quarkus, as I've done here. And when you go into Quarkus, you will find this tile, Psych C85, History of Psychology. So let's hop into there. And when you do hop into here, you will see, first of all, a relatively well-developed Module 1, and then there will be, as time goes on, future modules that will continue on as we go. Now, there's going to be a sort of structure to the course, and the structure is important. We're going to have, overall, 11 different modules. And I'm going to be more clear as we go in which chapters each module connects with. The first one doesn't connect with any, so your readings are going to start from Module 2. But for each module, the expectation is that you will, let's think of a module as a week long. You will do the readings for that week. You will watch the videos that I'll place here, and I'll tell you a little bit about those in a moment. And you will also consult anything else that's in that module that's there for you to do at that time. And then at the end of each module, there will be a quiz. And so the idea is you do the readings, you watch the videos, and then you do a quiz on the module that you just did. And in fact, we will have a quiz on what I'm talking to you about right now. I could be asking a question about whether there is a quiz at the end of every module or something like that. So every module will have one of these quizzes at the end. I'll explain that in more detail in just a moment, but that's really your task. Now, I am going to try to stay well ahead of you so that, as it's a 12-week period we have it in, so we can imagine a module a week, but I'm hoping to be ahead of that. And you can be ahead of that too if you want. You can sort of binge do some stuff. However, the quizzes for every module are only open around the end of that module. I'll be explicit in just a moment. And so you do have to keep coming back and doing the module quizzes, at the time they're available. Okay, let me just jump into the syllabus and let's go from there. Okay, so here's the syllabus. You can download a copy if you want. I'll just use the one that's here. So as we go through, here's me, there's my email address. Apparently I have an office somewhere. Haven't been there for a while. I feel bad for my plants, but so be it. Despite not having an office, we will have office hours. So every Monday from 3 to 4, and we will start the first day, Monday the 11th. I'll have this open. I will post an announcement with details on how to connect, to collaborate. I'm not even sure at this point in time, but I will have that sorted out by Monday. And so office hours, you can come by. Of course, they're going to be virtual. Ask any questions you have. Just get to know some of your classmates. Chat with us all. We can talk about whatever. You've got me for an hour at that time, and you're welcome to please come. A couple of TAs for the course, Lauren and Laura. You'll get to know them better. I'll introduce them in their roles, once we've got those all defined. Okay. So more critically, the textbook for the course is here. If you click on that, it will take you, it will take you to this page where you see there's various options for renting the digital copy of the book. If you want a physical copy, I'm sure they have them in the bookstore. I am not sure of the price, but this is the version you can get online, and you can get it really anytime. Okay. It has 16 chapters, and we're doing 11 modules. This is one of the modules, and it's not even about any of the chapters. So we really have 10 modules that are actually about the textbook. So what that means is some weeks we will be covering more than one chapter. In fact, the normal thing will be for a module to be more like 2 chapters, with a few of them being a single chapter. And those will be ones when you have peer scholar activities or other things to do. So I'll give you more details on that. So basically, you're going to have to cover 2 chapters a week, which means you might as well start reading. Jump in there. 2 chapters sounds like a lot. They're not large chapters. It's not a large book, but it's history of psychology. And I mean, history is hard to teach. It's a hard thing, to teach in an engaging way, and therefore it's a hard thing for students. But I will try my best to do my part to try to convince you that what you're learning is cool and relevant. And your part is just jump in, try to read ahead of me, so that when I'm lecturing on things, you can connect it to what you've learned. And if any questions come up, it's just a good time for you to kind of ask them. You can do the Monday kind of thing, come to office hours, ask me questions. Now, when I used to teach this, or when I taught this last fall, I would go into a classroom and I would just teach for 2 hours. I'm not going to do that to you guys, not in this form anyway. I will instead try to break up what was a 2-hour lecture into 3 to 6 smaller parts. My ultimate goal will be 15 to 20 minute lectures. I'm not going to reach that goal for everything. Sometimes you just have to kind of go longer to hold something together, but I'm going to try to keep it a set of smaller ones, so that any given module may have 3 to 6 of these videos that you have to watch that correspond to your classes. And so again, that's your task for every week, is to watch those videos, to read the accompanying chapters, and then by the end of the week to do the quiz. Okay. Now, let's talk about the assessment. There's going to be no midterm. Okay. I don't like, with this online kind of world, for a couple of reasons. I don't like big high stakes exams that are worth a lot of percentage. It's stressful enough to deal with a lot of these things, and it pushes people to maybe cheat or do things that they shouldn't be doing. And so we're just not going to have, the biggest exam we're going to have in this course is the final exam, which will be worth 25% of the mark. But in fact, most of your mark will come from these little quizzes at the end of each module. I said 11 modules, so that's 11 quizzes. Each quiz will be 6 to 10 items. So you'll just have a few multiple choice questions that you'll have to answer at the end of each quiz. And they're going to be worth 5% each. I'm going to drop your worst mark. So we'll have 11, so only 10 of them will count, your best 10, worth 5% each. And that's 50% of your grade right there, just with those quizzes, okay? And so take them seriously. Don't miss them. Don't miss them. I'm going to say this over and over again. There's nothing worse than just losing marks because you just didn't do something. Even if you have to go and just try your best guessing, do that instead of just missing one. Okay, so that's 50% of your mark, those little ones. We're also going to have 2 peer scholar activities. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. So they're going to be things where you're going to have to do some writing and giving feedback, and hopefully you guys know the peer scholar story by now. I'll tell you the specific situation in just a moment. But that's another 25%, right? 10% for the first one, 15% for the second. And then finally we have that cumulative final exam that's going to be worth 25% of your grade. So that's the breakdown, okay? Relatively straightforward. Again, it's a history of psychology class. It's a class that's a compulsory class. Why would anybody do this to you? Why would they make you take this course? Well, we do that because it's very important that if you're considering being a psychologist, if you're considering, that sort of even being a psych major, you really have to understand that the psychology the psychology you've been introduced to is psychology in its modern form. It was not always in this form, and it will not always be in this form. This is one sort of snapshot of time of what psychology looks like. And so for those who really want to understand psychology, we think it's very important that they also see that bigger picture. They understand how this snapshot in time relates to, well, it's hard to know how it relates to the future, but I'll talk about that. But certainly we can talk about how it relates to the past. How did we come to do psychology the way we do it now? Why do we study the issues that we study? How did they become the important concepts? We can learn about all of that stuff by learning about how psychology itself came to be and how it developed over time. And that's really what this course is about, right from the ancients through to the Renaissance, and then to the early psychology proper, which is sort of 18th, 19th, more 19th century really. and we'll get into experimental psychology and talk about all the schools of psychology, etc. So we're going to, by the end of this course, you'll have a real good sense of why and how we came to do psychology the way we do it now. Okay, and one of the things you're going to learn, by the way, is a lot of the things about how we do it now are relatively recent innovations and changes. For the most of the history of psychology was studied in a very different way. So that'll be part of the story. All right, so let's talk peer scholar for a second. What are these peer scholar activities? I'm very comfortable with ambiguity. I've learned in the past students are not. So I'm trying to be very clear about this, but the truth of the matter is I've not done either of these activities before. I was trying to think, how can I make this course more fun for you? How can I make it something that brings history to life a little bit? And so here's what I've decided. Before I get to the peer scholar activities, let me just say that by no later than May 24th, you will each be assigned to become, I'll get there, one of 10 to 20 famous psychologists. So I'm going to identify 10 to 20 psychologists. Just trying to think what that number should be, but I'll figure it out, and I'll have these names, and we'll make these available to you, and then you will be allowed to choose who you want to become. I'll explain that in a moment. There will be a constraint. I'm only going to allow so many people to be each psychologist, and so we're going to have a big free-for-all. I'll announce a time, and you can all just sign up and try to get the psychologist you want, and then end up getting whoever you get in the end. That's just how it'll go. But once you know who you are, your first task, which you can start from the moment you know, is to just start learning everything you can about that person. I want you to actually be a historian. I want you to feel like, okay, I'm somebody who's been assigned the task of bringing this person to life, getting to know who they are. And so I want you to do what historians do. Watch documentaries, watch things on YouTube, go to the library, whatever you can do to learn everything you can about that individual. I want you to think of it as though you're an actor and you're going to play this individual in a movie. And like actors do, you want to become very acquainted with who that individual is, right? So that you can portray them. Because that is exactly what I'm going to ask you to do in your 2 peer scholar activities. So here's how they're going to work. In the first one, let's say you're Freud. You won't be Freud. Nobody will be Freud because Freud's just too Freud. I'm going to give you more people you don't know so well. But let's say you were Freud. I am first going to put you in a peer scholar activity where you're just going to talk to other Freuds. You are each going to begin by describing in a very efficient form what you think are the most important characteristics of what you've done in your career, because you are going to be that person, right? So you are going to wear that person's persona, and you are basically going to say, here are the really powerful, impressive things I've done in my career. Here's who I am. Okay. Now, once you've done that, you're then going to go into a second phase where you see what some of your peers wrote, and I'm going to ask you to analyze them and see if they missed anything. What is the biggest point that they should have hit that they didn't? And talk a little bit about that and give that person some idea about that. Okay. And so all of you Freuds will be seeing what each other wrote. You'll be giving each other these tips. In the third phase, you'll see what, say, 5 peers thought you missed. And you'll be given the chance to do a redescription that includes those things if you think they should be included, but doesn't if you don't. So you'll be allowed to revise your work in light of your feedback. Okay. By the end of this first peer scholar activity, I expect you will really know this character well, right? Because it'll be your own research, plus you will have benefited from the research of your peers. And so hopefully you have a real good understanding of who this character is. Then a little while later, so this will be somewhere around the 4th week of the class, somewhere around the 8th week of the class, we're going to have the second peer scholar activity. And this is when you are not going to talk to other Freuds. You're going to talk to other historical figures. And we're going to simulate a sort of coming together of historical psychological figures. So basically what I'm going to do is give some topic. I'm going to throw some issue on the table, a psychological issue. And I want you to talk about that issue, to write about it, maybe do a video. I'm trying to decide, we'll decide on the format. It'd be funny to get you to dress up as the character Anyway, so you're going to do something where you answer that question the way you think that historical figure would answer it. Okay, so from their theoretical perspective, from their way of doing psychology and what they believe in, from what you know, how would they answer that question? And so you'll all do that. Now, of course, in the second phase, you'll now see what some of the peers said, but they are different psychology figures. And so they're all going to approach it from their own perspective. And what I want you to do is kind of argue with each of them. We're going to have Freud arguing with Wundt about perception or something like that. I don't know how this is all going to play out. I really don't. But I think it'll be fascinating and it'll be fun. And so you are now, going to engage in back and forth with all of these other historical figures. And then in the third phase, when you will see what a bunch of historical figures thought about your perspective, you are going to rebut their points. So if they think you have it wrong for some reason, you're going to sort of argue back. And so we're going to simulate this idea of intellectuals debating some psychological issue from different perspectives. That's the idea. Okay? Cool. Again, we'll see how it fleshes out. These are new. I'm not sure how they'll play out. I say, do you know what dissociative identity disorder is? I hope you do. That's split personalities, what some people used to think. You could come out of this course feeling like yourself and this other historical figure, but I think it'll be fun and I hope it'll bring history to life. So that's the idea of the course. I've got some of the learning objectives that I hope you come away with at the end of this course listed here. Okay, cool. By the way, when you guys look at this, you won't see all this stuff on the side, see all the non-eyeball things. Those are things that are not being shown to you right now, so you're going to see a lot less than what I see. I'll just mention that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the home. We've gone through the syllabus. Hope you have a good sense of the course. Remember, I'm going to ask you questions on everything I just told you. The other major part of Module 1 has to do with getting things set up with MTuner. So the quiz that we're going to use MTuner to do these quizzes. It's just an application that was created in my lab to do multiple choice testing, but in a way that enhances learning. So if you haven't, you've probably had it in Intro Psych if you went through it, but we have to get you set up if you're not set up. And so basically the rest of these, I just want you to go through one at a time. First one is just a description, but it also tells you when each module's quiz will be available. So you have to hit these times, right? If a quiz is no longer available, you're gonna get 0 on that quiz if you didn't do it. So make sure you note these times, put them in your phone, do what you have to do. But it's sometime between these. Each is between a Friday and a Wednesday. So you have that period of time over a weekend and into the next week. You just have to log in and do these 8 to 10 questions. They're going to be quick, but you have to find that time to do it every week, right? Every week as you go through. So there's all the dates there. You can see those. If you don't have an MTuner account, you need one. So you may have to create a course if you do not already have one. If you were in it, you may already have one, and you can just go to mtuner.ca and try logging in to see if you have an account or not. Once you have an account, you have to join this course by entering this join code. I suddenly have a hint of worry. I'm just going to make sure. Yeah, summer 2020. I did it right. Okay, good. So that will bring you to MTuner. Okay, so make sure you do that. You have to have done this before Friday because we're going to use it on Friday, right? So make sure you get that done. Otherwise, there's just this is just a little document that helps you kind of navigate MTuner, and so that you understand what's going on here and how it all works. I stole this from Intro Psych, so it may refer to Intro Psych at parts, but it's the same thing. It'll give you a sense of how it all works and what goes on. There may be some differences between what you see in this document and how I do it. What I say matters, not what this document says. Okay, so this document is meant just to show you how MTuner works. And I think that's really all it does. But if they get into any specifics, trust the specifics in the syllabus first. Okay. And finally, if you're registered with Accessibility, and if part of your accommodation involves extra time during testing, then there's a process you need to go through for us to respect that in MTuner. We can do that. Obviously, we want to do it, but that process is described here. So check that out. Okay, I think that's all I have to say for now, other than I really hope you enjoy the course. I really hope you show up for office hours, right? We could all use some social interactions right now, and office hours are a great way to do it. So don't feel like you have to have a burning question. Don't worry about, oh, if I don't say the right thing, then Steve's going to think I'm a moron or something. Just show up, come, hang out, let's chat. It'll be fun. Mondays 3 to 4. Read through all this stuff, get really comfortable with it, and anytime from when? Friday, right? When? Anytime. Friday, May 15th to Wednesday, May 30th, log in to MTuner by following this and do your first quiz. And then make that a habit for every week. Okay, shut up.